And after the break, take those old family photos and digitize them right after these messages.
You probably have an old box of family photos somewhere, and every year you let those photos sit in a a damp place, a cold place,
dust
freeze.
and all that.
You got to be careful, right? The quality degrades. What you want to do is just keep them in a basically acid-free paper, proper storage environment, someplace that's cool and warm, and where the cat can't do its duties on them. Now, we got a better idea, though. Rather than, and you should take care of the photos, right? Because you lose them, they're gone forever. But we're going to talk right here about making those photos digital, about scanning them into your system so you can store a digital version of them.
Show us how to do it. What's going on?
We like to do that. So basically, right, you got photo images, and you look at it, we've got some of my parents' wedding pictures in there from forever and a day ago. And you should think about it, here's a classic picture of me in my ute.
Oh, that's your parents right there?
That's my parents right there. My dad was just in the Navy, and there's a really scary picture of me.
That's
One thing you should do, that's actually me, believe it or not. I look just as confused then as I do now. Isn't that amazing?
That's awesome.
And I had hair. I miss my hair. Anyhow, if you have, one of the things you want to think about, right? You look deep down in the package there, and I don't know if you can see inside of there, which camera is on there. You see those? Those are the negatives.
Yeah.
Right? That's a really bad way to store negatives, and we're not going to address that in this particular show, because this isn't like photo preserving hour. This is the screensavers. But if you actually have negatives like that, what you want to do is you want to get a negative scanner or have a professional scan those negatives into your and store them digitally rather than using the photos, because photos sit around. If they've been in the sunlight, they fade. If sometimes if they haven't been processed properly, the color that's on the photo may have little or nothing to do with the color that was recorded on the negative. So if you have negatives,
the negative is your source too. It's where all that information is. You don't want to take it from a copy. Go to the source.
Exactly.
Now, you have a flatbed scanner here.
Right.
How do we get negatives into this thing here?
Usually there'll be an adapter for it, or you'll get a dedicated negative scanner. If you have like thousands of photos you want to scan, and you all have the negatives for them, you probably want to go ahead and invest. Like Nikon makes a great negative scanner. There are adapters that allow you to scan negatives that create a backlight on here. So basically there would be, rather than what we have here where there's a reflective surface, the platen is the glass underneath there, and basically we shine against the paper there, what you would do is actually backlight the negative. And you can use adapters for that. They're not too bad. What you really want, though, is a dedicated negative scanner, or you basically want to have a photo disc created, or you want to spend the money to have somebody with a professional scanner scan those in for you at like 3,000 DPI, so you get all of the detail of the negative, and you can still blow the picture up to an 8.5 by 10 and have it look good.
That makes sense.
That makes sense. Now, let's say you have pictures. You were talking earlier, we were talking about like drum scanners, which are pretty amazing. If you have access to like a service bureau, if you're in one of the big cities, what they do is they actually wrap your original document around a drum. The drum gets spun at a very high speed, and they read the information off of it. If you're looking at a professional magazine, a big high 4-color glossy magazine, that's what they've almost always done, is they've drum scanned those images in. You get incredible resolution and detail, and you get the biggest files you can ever imagine.
But you're not going to have one of those at home, because those are going to cost you like $3,000-$4,000 and then some. So.
And most people aren't going to have one of those in their neighborhood. But what you can do is you can get a pretty nice, for example, we have an Epson 3200 or the Epson Perfection 3200 photo here. Pretty nice scanner. And what we can do is we can be really careful with how we scan. First thing you want to do is there's a sheet of glass down here we call the platen. You want to use something to clean that. Follow the manufacturer's recommendations. Make sure if you use Windex, it's not going to take some sort of special coating off of the surface of the glass. And the other thing you want to do is you want to get like a classic, this is like your basic $8, $10 photo cleaning kit or lens cleaning kit where you've got lens tissue in there and a little fuzzy brush.
So you just pick this up at your local little photo shop.
Yeah, or you can basically, get a brush that's designed to clean it, and you want to make sure there's no dust on the surface. If you have to, you want to get a piece of lens cleaning tissue, and you want to take greasy fingerprints off of it, because what happens, right, is that anything on the surface of that photograph is going to be wedged between the surface of that photograph. In fact, you can see where whoever, you probably can't see it, but whoever took this picture and made the print, they left a piece of hair, right? That's one more reason to use a negative. You can't really see it there, but there's basically a hair in there. Well, we can't do anything about that now, but we can make sure we don't add any more imperfections like that.
Okay, so we got the photo all cleaned up. We got the glass clean. Shut the lid. Put it in the corner, or bump it up against the edges, and now what do we do?
Well, we're going to do a pre-scan on that. Let me get the Epson scanning software up there. And if you preview it, you'll notice something. Let me go in there. What we found out when we previewed it earlier is we were getting a whole big chunk down here that had absolutely nothing to do with our photograph. And what you want to do is you want to trim out the area of the flatbed that have nothing to do with your photograph. And if you do that, you end up getting better results because you don't have your white balance of the picture isn't offset by a big chunk of empty area, you know, around the edges of the picture. And once you've done that, you can scan it in. And when you scan it in, you want to be really careful about what settings you choose. Now, we had a document type reflective, but we're going to skip down here. We're going to save it out as a TIFF. And we're also going to make sure, in this case, we're going to use 600 DPI. It gives us a nice, rich image that we can get pretty good. If you can go higher, if you have the storage space, you can go a lot higher, and that gives you that much more information.
Right.
You want to make sure you stay at optical resolution, not an enhanced resolution, the native resolution, not some interpolated resolution.
Right.
But 600 DPI is a good minimum state.
Okay, so 600 is good enough if you're going to just archive this stuff, save it, back it up. You recommend 600. All right.
600 DPI, and save it out as a 24-bit TIFF file. What that does is it's not a lossy compression. It's not a JPEG. You get all of the information. You don't lose any of the information. You can save that for future generations. And that way, if you want to convert it to something else, you don't have to worry about it being a proprietary file format that may be abandoned. And if you want to convert it to something else, you've got as much rich information to start with as possible. More information is up on the website. We got to scoot. Kevin, do you want to tell them where to go?
Yeah, if you want to learn more about this, head on over to thescreensavers.com. Pat's got an article on there. You got a bunch of links, all kinds of good stuff.